From the very beginning, God's plan for your life was never that you live weighed down by anxiety, fear, or constant worry. Worry was never part of His design. It crept in as a result of sin and separation from Him. Carrying worry is like walking with a heavy burden you were never built to bear. It slows you down, drains your strength, and keeps you from fully experiencing the life of faith and peace He intended for you. Every moment spent in anxiety steals from your joy, robs you of your focus, and blinds you to the provision and protection He has already made available. When the weight of life's pressures tries to settle on your shoulders, it's easy to think that holding on to those concerns somehow keeps you in control. But the truth is, worry changes nothing about the situation. It only exhausts you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. God, in His love and wisdom, has called you to live free from that load by casting all your cares onto Him. He didn't create you to carry the weight of tomorrow's uncertainties. He has already gone ahead of you, making a way where there seems to be no way. Living free of worry doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending challenges don't exist. It means trusting that God is greater than every problem you face. He never asks you to figure everything out on your own. Instead, He invites you to bring every concern, every fear, and every burden to Him, knowing He is faithful to sustain you the moment you truly believe that He cares for you. The grip of worry begins to break, and you find yourself stepping into the freedom of a life carried by His strength, not weighed down by your own. Faith and worry are like light and darkness. Where one exists, the other cannot remain. When your heart is filled with faith, there's no room for worry to take hold. And when worry dominates your thoughts, faith finds it hard to function. Worry feeds on doubt, constantly replaying worst-case scenarios and magnifying problems until they seem insurmountable. Faith, on the other hand, looks beyond the circumstances and takes God at His word, believing that His promises are greater than any challenge you face. Trying to hold on to faith while clinging to worry is like trying to sail in two directions at once. One will always overpower the other. Faith demands a decision to trust God completely and release control of the outcome to Him. Worry whispers that you must keep thinking about the problem, that somehow your constant attention will change things. But the more you give in to worry, the more you hinder your faith from working. Faith thrives when it is focused, confident, and undistracted. It calls you to believe that God is who He says He is, and that He will do what He has promised, no matter what your natural senses tell you. When you choose faith, you silence the voice of worry, refusing to give it authority over your thoughts. This doesn't mean challenges disappear instantly, but your perspective shifts. You no longer live under the weight of anxiety because you've decided to anchor your trust in the one who never fails. Every time you choose faith over worry, you create space for God's power to move. And in that space, peace begins to reign in your heart. Surrender is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of strength that opens the door for God to move fully in your life. When you hold on tightly to your cares, trying to manage every outcome and control every detail, you are relying on your own limited strength. The weight of that responsibility only increases stress and anxiety, leaving you drained and overwhelmed. True surrender means intentionally placing every worry, fear, and burden into God's hands and refusing to take them back. It's a deliberate choice to trust that He knows what is best and that His power is more than enough to handle what you cannot. There is incredible freedom in that moment of letting go. The tension that has gripped your heart begins to ease because the responsibility to make it all work no longer rests on you. Surrender allows your faith to come alive because when you step aside, you give God room to act on your behalf. It's not about giving up. It's about yielding control to the one who sees the end from the beginning and has already prepared a way through every challenge you face. Living surrendered also means resisting the temptation to pick those cares back up after you've given them to Him. It's easy to pray about something and then moments later start worrying about it again. But each time you surrender anew, you reinforce your trust in His faithfulness. Over time, this becomes a habit, a reflex of the heart that refuses to live under the weight of anxiety. In surrender, you discover that God's strength carries you. His wisdom guides you, and His peace surrounds you, no matter what circumstances come your way. When you cast your cares on God, it's not enough to simply empty your heart of worry. You must replace those cares with His promises. If you leave that space empty, anxiety will try to creep back in, filling your mind with the same old fears and doubts. God's Word is the antidote, the living truth that uproots worry and plants seeds of faith that produce peace. Every promise in Scripture is designed to anchor your heart, reminding you of who He is and what He has already provided for you. Replacing cares means intentionally choosing what you meditate on. Instead of rehearsing problems, you rehearse His faithfulness. When the thought of fear comes, you counter it with the assurance that He is your provider, your healer, your defender. His promises are not mere words, they are living realities, backed by His unchanging nature. As you fill your heart with these truths, your perspective begins to shift. What once seemed overwhelming loses its power, because you are now focused on what God has already declared over your life. This is an active process, a daily decision to let faith shape your thoughts rather than circumstances. The more you meditate on His promises, the more your trust in Him deepens and the grip of worry weakens. In time, your reflex changes. When trouble arises, your first response is no longer anxiety, but confident trust in His Word. By replacing your cares with His promises, you create a stronghold of faith within your heart. And in that place, worry has no room to remain. Living carefree is not about ignoring responsibilities or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about making a conscious decision every day to refuse the weight of anxiety. Life will always bring opportunities to worry, but you get to choose whether or not you pick up those burdens. Each morning brings a fresh opportunity to hand over every concern to God, trusting that He is already working behind the scenes. This is not a one-time act, but a continual practice, a lifestyle of leaning fully on Him in every circumstance. Choosing to live carefree requires vigilance over your thoughts. Worry often tries to creep in subtly, starting as a small concern that grows if left unchecked. The key is to recognize it early and immediately give it to God before it takes root. Each time you refuse to carry that burden, your heart grows stronger in faith and more accustomed to walking in His peace. Over time, living carefree becomes second nature, a rhythm of trust that shapes how you respond to every situation. This daily practice also frees up emotional and mental energy that worry once consumed. Instead of being weighed down by anxiety, you find yourself more aware of God's guidance and more responsive to His leading. Your mind is clearer, your body lighter, and your spirit at rest, because you are no longer trying to manage what only He can handle. Living carefree is not about ignoring reality. It's about aligning with a greater reality, God's faithful care that surrounds you at every moment, making worry unnecessary and peace inevitable. There is a supernatural peace that comes when you truly cast your cares on God, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances and cannot be shaken by the storms around you. This peace acts like a guard, standing watch over your heart and mind, keeping anxiety and fear from gaining access. When you choose to trust God with your worries, His peace takes the place of that anxiety, filling the spaces once occupied by fear with calm assurance. It is not the fragile peace the world offers, which fades as soon as conditions change. It is a deep, unshakable confidence that He is in control. This guarding peace steadies your emotions and clears your thoughts, allowing you to make decisions from a place of faith rather than fear. It acts as a shield, protecting you from the mental exhaustion that worry brings and the physical toll that stress takes on your body. As that peace takes root, it begins to influence every area of your life. Conversations become calmer, your responses more measured, and your perspective shifts from focusing on problems to resting in solutions already secured by God's promises. Experiencing this kind of peace doesn't mean challenges disappear. It means your heart remains unshaken in the middle of them. You begin to carry an inner stillness that circumstances cannot disturb. Even when situations try to provoke anxiety, the peace of God rises within you like a stronghold, holding fear at bay. The more you practice casting your cares, the stronger this guarding peace becomes until it becomes your natural state, a deep, abiding rest that shields your heart and keeps you anchored in trust no matter what comes your way. Walking in victory through restful trust means living with the unshakable confidence that God is handling what you have placed in His hands. Victory does not come from constant striving, worrying, or trying to force outcomes. It flows from the quiet assurance that the battle is already won. When you choose to trust Him fully, your heart finds rest, and that rest becomes the ground from which victory springs. Instead of being weighed down by the pressure to figure everything out, you move forward with clarity, strength, and peace, knowing that His plan is unfolding perfectly. Restful trust allows you to face challenges without being consumed by them. It shifts your focus from the size of the problem to the greatness of the one who promised to sustain you. This trust is not passive. It is an active confidence that God is working even when you cannot see it. As you release the burden of worry, your faith grows stronger and you become more sensitive to His leading, stepping into the solutions He has already prepared. Victory becomes your lifestyle when trust replaces fear. You find that even in the midst of trials, your heart is steady. Your mind is clear and your spirit remains unshaken. Living this way doesn't mean life will never bring challenges, but it does mean you no longer live under their weight. Every step you take in restful trust is a step away from anxiety and a step deeper into the freedom and power God intended for you. This is what it means to walk in true victory, a life marked by peace, confidence, and the continual awareness that He is carrying every care on your behalf. Casting your cares is not a suggestion, it is a divine invitation to step out of the heavy weight of worry and into the freedom of God's perfect care. You were never created to live burdened by anxiety, drained by fear, or consumed with trying to control what only He can handle. Each care you release into His hands makes room for His power, His peace, and His provision to flow unhindered in your life. When faith takes the place of worry, the heart finds rest, the mind gains clarity, and the spirit grows stronger. This is the life you were meant to live, free, steady, and victorious, anchored in the unshakable truth that He cares for you. Let this be your resolve, to walk each day with a heart unburdened, fully trusting that the one who holds the universe also holds every detail of your life in His capable hands.